Hi there. This is for Mrs. Restow. After trying to explain it in words in an email, I decided it's easier just to draw this out and record it for you. So hopefully you're able to view this and this helps you out. So for the first problem, I know I typed it out in email, but I don't think it made a lot of sense in just words. So we know that across the bottom here, x, y, and z have to add up to that total span of 39. So we have a first equation here of x plus y plus z equals 39. From here we have to use the slopes to divide stuff up. So I'm going to cut this right here. This here should be right underneath that. I just didn't draw it very well. And we're going to use this triangle right here. So I'm actually going to pull that triangle out so we can see it closer. What we know about this triangle is that this is x here. We know this height here of 12 foot 6 inches, I'm going to convert to just 12.5 feet. This is 12.5 feet in here. So that is this side of that triangle. And we have a slope here. This is considered the triangle with a 10 by it. Sometimes we put this edge in and sometimes we leave it out. It is called a 10-12 slope. So what that means is 10 over 12. 10 is the rise. So on this triangle, the rise is going to be 12.5. And the 12 is the run. On this triangle, the run is going to be the x. So I can actually find x here really quickly. I'm just going to cross multiply and divide. So 12 times 12.5 divided by 10. So that is 150 divided by 10, or 15 feet. I'm just going to double check that just to make sure it's late in the day. Yes, it is 15 feet. So I'm going to give you that one for free. We know x up here is now 15 feet. So you can actually rearrange that equation. You can subtract the 15 from both sides. You now have y plus z equals 24. So we're going to have to come back to that equation in a little bit. We need to create some more equations. So up here, we've got this triangle on the far right. This one right here. Oops, I didn't draw that very well, but that's okay. I'm going to pull that one out so we can look at it more closely. What we know about this one is the bottom is that dimension z. The slope here, if you look up here, right here, is 512. The height of that, I'm going to just name that rise A for now. So what we know here is 5 over 12, that's just my slope, 512. The rise here is rise A. The run is z. I can solve for rise A here by cross multiplying and dividing. 5 times z divided by 12 is just 5z over 12. That equals rise A. The next triangle I need to look at is right up here, this one. This one has a run of y and a slope of 10, 12. So I'm going to pull that one out so we can look at it closer. Oops, need to get the camera up there, but we'll get it back off. Okay. So there we've got the run of y down there, and this is a 10, 12 slope. I'm going to call this rise B. So we got 10, 12 slope, that's 10 over 12. 10 represents the rise. The rise here is rise B. The 12 would represent this number, that's the run, so that's going to be y. And once again, we're going to solve for rise B, so we're going to cross multiply and divide. So 10 times y divided by 12 is just 10y over 12. That's rise B. So if I go back up to this picture, I have rise A here and rise B here. And I see that those two must add up to that total height of 12.5. So rise A plus rise B equals 12.5. But rise A equals this. So that's 5z over 12. And rise B equals this. So that's 10y over 12. They have to add together to get 12.5. So I have two equations here. I have a system of equations of y and z that I have to solve. Y plus z equals 24. And I'm going to write this as 10 twelfths times y plus 5 twelfths times z equals 12.5. So you already know x. We figured out that x was 15 here. So we know that piece. That's one of the pieces to find. Now you have to use this system of equations to figure out y and z. Hopefully that gets you moving in the right direction. For number 2, or actually for 3-4 I should say, that was 1-2. For 3-4, a slightly simpler application, but still a little intense. So we have a total slope or span here of 44 feet. There's a 1612 slope here and a 612 slope over here. First thing we run into is x plus y has to add up to the 44. Now, we're going to go to the triangles like we did with the last one. So we have a triangle over here. To pull out that triangle, I'll just draw it down here. This is x, this is h, the height. It had a slope of 1612. So we know that our slope of 16 over 12, the rise here is h and the run is x. So I am going to solve for x. So I'm going to cross multiply. 12 times h is 12h divided by 16, or 12/16 h. And that's my x equals that. I can do the same thing on this other side here. This is still h, and this is now y down here, and it's a 612 slope. So I know that 6 over 12. H is my rise. Y is my run. This time I'm going to solve for y. So 12 times h is 12h divided by 6. Well, 12h divided by 6 is just 2h. And that equals y. So what I can do is come back up here. X is 12 over 16, 12/16 h. Y is 2h equals 44. I can solve that equation for h. Once I know what h equals, I can use that to come down here and find x, and to put it in here for h to find y. Okay, number 3 is just a really long equation. You just got to look at how it's put together and take it apart. I'm going to try to do one similar to it. I'm just going to put in numbers. I don't know how well they're going to work out. I must have been in a really crabby mood when I wrote this one. Okay, so to solve this one here, we've got to kind of take things apart. We've got to get x all by itself. So we've got to peel off the layers, kind of like an onion. We've got to take off the outside layers first. So the first one we got to get rid of on the very outside is this square root. To get rid of the square root, we're going to square it. So we have to square the other side as well. So that squared and the square root cancel each other out. So what's left on that left side is everything else except for that outside square root symbol. Over here, -7 squared is a positive 49. If you entered in your calculator wrong, it'll try to tell you -49. Remember, -7 squared is -7 times -7. A negative times a negative is a positive. Next thing we have to do is we have to multiply by 2 to get rid of that 2. So this equals 98 over here. Now the 16 squared is just 256. So I can go ahead and multiply that out. And I'm going to add the 256 to get rid of that minus 256. So this is 354 over here. Over here we've got 5 times. That. Now I'm going to divide by the 5. Multiplying by 5 is the outermost thing here, so I'm going to divide by 5. Um, 354 divided by 5 is 70.8. Now I have that squared there. To get rid of the squared, square root. So that squared and square root will cancel each other out. What I have left here is 2 times 3x plus 7 in the square root minus 13. So I have 70 point, I have to do the square root of 70.8. Square root first. 70.8. I get 8.414, we'll call it. Now, technically, if you wanted full credit, technically it's 8.414 or a negative 8.414. A square root always has 2 answers, one positive, one negative. So we're going to solve this. Like that, and then we're going to have to solve it with the negative in there. So there's going to be 2 equations to solve from here on out. Both of them, I'm going to do this one first over here. We have to add 13 to get rid of the 13. So this is 21.414. Over here, I got to divide by 2. .414 divided by 2 is 10.707. I have to get rid of the square root, so I'm going to have to square it. Square root and squared cancel out. This is 3x plus 7 equals 10.707 squared. 114.64 we're going to call it. 640 we'll call it. And of course, we've got to still get x by itself. We're going to subtract 7. So 3x equals 107.640. And the last thing to get rid of is the 3. So divide by 3. So x equals 35.880. So that's one answer. Going back over here, I've got to add the 13. So 3 times the square root of 3x plus 7 equals, that's a positive 4.586. Dividing by 3. Square root of 3x plus 7 equals 1.529. We're going to call that. This would be 287, but it rounds up to 9. Next, we got to square this to get rid of the square root. So that cancels out the square root. 3x plus 7 equals 1.529 squared. 2.338, we're going to call that. Now we have to subtract 7. 3x equals 2.338 minus 7 is a negative 4.662. And divide by 3. X equals a negative 1.554. So those are the two possible answers for that one. So the numbers on the one on the sheet are different, but it's the exact same steps. And I believe the numbers on the sheet work out a little bit easier than the ones I gave you here. So hopefully that helps you out. If not, please feel free to send me another message, and I'll see if I can't make it a little clearer for you. I know these are some pretty tough problems. You have a great day.